how far is this subconscious power going to go? I have to finish my Klonopin taper. I still have to taper the trileptal mood stabilizer. I have to finish the risperidone. Maybe I could be hypnotized into not feeling these withdrawal effects every time I cut my medication. I came upon something called Psych-K. Not only would I be tapping into the power of the subconscious mind, but this could be an avenue to unpacking this suitcase in a really meaningful way. I had my first Psych-K session facilitated with me. On the way home, I realized I didn't have any symptoms at all. So in this You Create Your Reality community, I learned that the subconscious mind plays a role in the creation of our reality. I started reading about how powerful the subconscious mind is, and that it handles a lot of things in the background that I was not aware of. I came upon the decision that I want to manifest a symptom-free taper off of all this medication. I started looking for information. There was nothing out there. No one was talking. It was like, I want a car, I want money, I want a significant other, all this stuff. Even just people looking for health, it felt out of alignment, because at this point I'm still thinking, but tapering medication is so special. It's so unique. How do I know that this is going to work? And I didn't. I had to blaze my own trail, you know? I just had to keep following. And I didn't get too hung up on the subconscious beliefs. I didn't get paranoid. I didn't buy too much into the limitation around that. I was more interested in this power of the subconscious mind and what could it do for me in this situation? How could it help me? So I got the idea, maybe I could be hypnotized into not feeling these withdrawal effects every time I cut my medication. Like, how far is this subconscious power going to go? If people can be hypnotized into believing that they've been burned by a cigarette when someone touches, that's a physical manifestation. It's a physical injury to that person, all from the power of the subconscious mind. So in my search for a hypnotist, I came upon something called Psych-K. And when I started doing more research, there was someone who had had a Psych-K session, who had experienced a sexual assault, and they were talking about the results that they had from this Psych-K session. And I thought, not only would I be tapping into the power of the subconscious mind, but this could be an avenue to unpacking this suitcase in a really meaningful way. And so it went beyond just go in there and program me with something. It allowed me, from what I could read and understand, to be in my power and be conscious and choose what those goals were. And so I Googled for a facilitator, and there was one less than 10 miles from my house. So I went up to her website, and I knew immediately, this is it. And I signed up for her 10-hour overhaul package. Let's do this. I'm going all in. I found this at the end of 2017. So at the very beginning of 2018, I had my first Psych-K session facilitated with me. I had been holding on all of the cuts. I wanted to experiment with reality creation. I wanted to be totally stabilized. I still had symptoms, though. I still had a lot of withdrawal symptoms. And I barely got myself to the appointment. But on the way home, I realized I didn't have any symptoms at all. I didn't have to white knuckle it down the Dallas North Tollway. I could actually go 80 in the middle lane, which is the standard speed on the tollway, without, completely comfortably. And I thought, something is hugely different. And the next day at noon, I went to my 12-step meeting like always, and I felt like a square peg in a round hole. And I thought, I understand, I know, but I can't relate to this. This feels so foreign to me. It was total cognitive dissonance. I can't explain it. I don't know, but I still had relief from my symptoms. And in the first 5 minutes, I was like, I don't belong here anymore. I don't know how, I can't explain it. I don't know why, but I don't belong here anymore. At my next Psych-K session, I resolved an eating disorder that I had since elementary school. And I'd been inpatient, outpatient, in the whole mix of everything I had going on. And I knew why I had picked up that eating disorder. And it seemed so foreign to me. Like, how was this ever a thing? And I said to the facilitator, I don't know what you did. And she said, I didn't do anything. It was you. It was you healing and transforming you. And if you're ready I came to realize, because it's you using a tool to tap into you and your own power that you are born with, and you forgot that you had. Forgot on purpose, but you forgot that you had. That if you are ready for a quantum leap, you'll get a quantum leap. If you're ready for a crumb out of the loaf of bread, that's what you'll get. But I was so beyond ready for quantum leap that's what I got. It was nothing short of that. And after the second session, I said, I don't really have any words. And she said, I teach this. I'm an instructor. And I said, when is your next workshop? I went home, I told my husband, and he had seen such incredible change. I took him with me. So I learned to facilitate with myself. And that was the beginning of my healing, because what I realized was that nothing pokes at whatever you've got stored in that subconscious programming like tapering off of your medication. And when I was able to heal and transform myself, and as the late, great Dr. Wayne Dyer said, when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. And that is one of the things that the Psych-K process gave me the ability to do for myself. But there's also things happening at the physiological level. So that Psych-K process, within that protocol, it's called a balance process. When we have life experiences, they cause us to pick up beliefs, to form beliefs that are then continually reflected back to us. We create perceptions. We create a lens that we're looking through as we're going through life. And two people could have similar experiences and form completely different beliefs and perspectives about it. It's how someone can, multiple people can witness a car accident and have completely different stories, because we all have these things that we've picked up. And these beliefs cause us to create stories and beliefs about ourselves that aren't accurate and aren't real and aren't true. And so that process also allowed me to start peeling away all of that stuff that I had picked up and attached to myself. It's like a beautiful statue from Michelangelo, and you've put all this stuff on top of it. And that the Psych-K process allowed me to chip away and remove that and return to the perfect, whole, complete, there's nothing wrong here person. And when we have these experiences, they often can get stored in one hemisphere of the brain or another predominantly. And so depending on what we've picked up, we could be completely logical about it, but have no access to the attributes of the right hemisphere, the emotion and the feeling and the whole of it. Or we could be completely emotional about it stuck in the right hemisphere attributes and have no or virtually no access to the logic and the reasoning. And so when we come together in what's the balance process creates a whole brain state, we now are able to walk around and function in the world, having equal access to all the attributes of the right hemisphere and the left hemisphere, by opening up the corpus callosum, which is that brain bridge, and allowing a rewiring from a physiological perspective to a whole brain state. And so the subconscious mind, instead of saying, I've got a file based on what I'm picking up in the environment or whatever the perception is, I'm making those correlations that we know nothing about, that's getting triggered all over the place during the tapering process, that are now being resolved. And so in my experience, the withdrawal symptoms that I was experiencing were not from the medication at all. Because once I resolved whatever was getting poked at and triggered, because the trigger is the treasure, is what I've come up with. There's gold there. When you resolve that, all of my symptoms went away. Now, the key was I needed to resume my taper and see what happens. So Psych-K is a spiritual process that has physical and psychological benefits. Spiritual process in that it takes you back to, it returns you to the remembering of who and what you really are by resolving the illusions via limiting beliefs, subconscious programming that we've picked up. It transforms and heals that and gives you a new perspective. It's a freeing from all of the self-imposed limitations. I'm never going to be able to heal while I'm still on medication or while I'm still tapering my medication. That's a limiting belief, because the body knows what it's doing. And when you start telling the body through the mind-body connection and resolving whatever's happening at the subconscious level of the mind, you start to realize that that's just a story that you're telling yourself and you're buying into. Because when I finished all of my tapers, a question that I would get is, how long did it take you to heal? No, it didn't. I healed the whole way down by continuing to balance with myself on the things that were getting poked at. And the beautiful thing is, you don't need to know what that subconscious programming is with Psych-K. You just need to know what you want to experience instead. We don't need to dig up anything. We don't need to analyze anything. You just need to know, what do I want instead? What would I need to believe to be true to have a new experience? My body knows what it's doing. It knows how to heal. You know, the work of Dr. Candace Pert, Molecules of Emotion, that your body has everything it needs to bridge that gap of cutting each medication. It's got everything in there. And there's a story, and I bought into it too, and it is a valid experience if that is what you are having, because I did have it as well, that she has proven, and others have now too, that as you take away that medication, your body knows how to fill in that gap. It knows how to bridge the gap between what has been introduced and what has been taken away. If you stop telling yourself a story that isn't true. And as long as you're telling that same story, you're going to be recreating that same reality. There's a book by Claude Bristol, and these are things that were just brought to me. They were the answers that I needed, called The Magic of Believing, where a reporter was writing a story, and there's a man who is entertaining his, I believe the context is he's wanting to elicit funding for a project, and he's imbibed on too much alcohol. And this reporter was in a place where the host did not realize he was being witnessed, but he literally talked himself into sobriety in the mirror once he realized he had imbibed too much before he went out and started giving his presentation and soliciting. And I was like, whoa, that's the power of the subconscious mind. There's a religious denomination in the South that regularly drinks strychnine poison and lets cottonmouth snakes bite them on a regular basis because they believe, no, they know, it goes beyond believing. They know that they will not die. So I'm thinking, if people are drinking strychnine and getting bitten by cottonmouth snakes, they have seeded the potential for what I also am capable of. Now, was it scary experimenting? Of course. I didn't do anything crazy like be bitten by a snake or drink strychnine, but I started to tell myself the story. My body knows how to bridge that. It knows what it's doing. It knows how to compensate for down-regulated receptors. They're not fried off. They're healthy and beautiful, and they know how to upregulate. They know what they're doing. And I don't need to eat a special food, and I don't need to eat a special diet unless intuitively I'm being called to that. There's no limitation other than the limitation you place on yourself. And that's the truth. You are the jailer to your own self.